Today, I've come to Northleach, in the heart of the Cotswolds, to meet a man who's devoted his life to the preservation and restoration of mechanical music. So, let's step back in time and meet Keith Harding and his world of mechanical music. The museum hadn't always been based in Gloucestershire, and so I began by asking proprietor Keith Harding how he first got interested in the world of self-playing musical instruments and what brought him to this part of the world.
I was brought up in the Cotswolds, and when I was a small boy, quite a lot of my friends had musical boxes in the nursery and even player pianos. You see, there was no other way of listening to canned music in the home until 1924, when broadcasting came in. But after broadcasting came in, the musical boxes went out of fashion.
Now Keith, as we'll see later on, there are so many different exhibits here at the museum itself. How did you manage to find them in the first place?
Well, we're very well known, and in fact a lot of the instruments find us because people write to us, offer us things, and of course we get a lot of things brought in for restoration. And occasionally the owners decide to leave them with us instead of having them restored, because it's an expensive and time-consuming job.
What sort of condition are they in when they actually find their way to you?
They always require quite a lot of attention. Sometimes they're in really terrible condition. But of course that makes our work particularly interesting, because there are always new challenges. We're always having to find new techniques for dealing with various problems to get the best possible sound out of them. And they've been restored.
As well as the museum, you also have the reputation as being one of the finest restorers of music boxes and clocks in the world.
Well, that's really for other people to say, but when we started in 1961 in North London, there really wasn't anywhere in the world where you could get good quality work done on these instruments, and we had to set out to learn to do it ourselves. We very soon started to get work coming to us from all over the world, and we established that reputation because we've always put a very strong emphasis on quality. We always try and get the very best quality sound out of the instruments we work on.
What about spare parts for the musical instruments, Keith? Do you have to make everything from scratch nowadays?
Pretty well, yes. There's nothing off the shelf. It's all handmade.
Well, we've moved into the music room here now at the museum, and to enlighten us more on the exhibits on display, here's Phil, our tour guide.
Hello there, I'm Philip, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the building it's in, first of all. Westwood's Grammar School, list of headmasters down the wall, opened in the 16th century, 1589, first headmaster John Stone. Closed in 1922, last headmaster Frederick William Godwin. One of the famous pupils, James Bradley, Astronomer Royal, replaced Edmund Halley in 1742, came to school here. A bit of graffiti, a bit more permanent than the aerosol cans they use today, and that's 19th century graffiti. There you see how the building used to look with the Gothic arch windows. Very, very nice. Shame that they took them out, really, but the council changed the structure in 1947. District council offices, and they had a second floor, so the bureaucrats worked upstairs. The council chamber downstairs, floor is ammunition boxes from D-Day recycled to make a parquet floor, a bit short of materials after the war, chopped up very nicely there. And now you see it decorated with William Morris wallpaper to give you the Victorian drawing room look, and the type of instruments that people had in their drawing rooms and parlours before the days of canned music such as radio broadcast and recorded sound. So I'd like to take you to our first instrument, which is the earliest one in the collection, dates to 1770. So if we walk over here to this side of the museum, directly above the instrument you'll find Queen Victoria. She comes into our story as the tour continues. There you see the pastoral pike, rescued from Northleach Fish and Chip Shop when it closed down, caught in the Wye, and weighs 17.5 pounds. God, what a monster that was. It was this big, as they say. Well, this is the earliest one, 1770, chamber barrel organ, home entertainment for rich people, £40 retail. Now, £40 in those days was a couple of years' salary, and it bought you quite a lot. You've got gold leaf, demi-organ pipe front, a Sheraton cabinet, very nice style of furniture, 10 tunes on the barrel, 8 barrels, 80 tunes, selecting lever at the side where you can actually select a tune. I'll just demonstrate that for you. Lifting up the key bar, move the barrel along, align another set of pins. till you find the tune that you require, and then the servant will wind the handle for you. Now the 18 keys read the coding, turn it into music through 4 sets of pipes. The bellows at the front produce the air, and just to the left of the instrument you'll see 4 organ stops. They are to change the tones of the different ranks of pipes to give you some expression in your tune. The servant wound the handle with his right hand and would operate the stops with his left if he was a little bit musical. So if you'd like to take your partners, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first instrument of the tour. Mozart was 14 when this was made. Haydn, Handel, Mozart all wrote tunes for this. And this one, a lovely old tune called March in the Battle of Prague. How you dance to it, I don't know, but feel free to have a go. This instrument, taking the chamber barrel organ to about as good as they got. This one, 1840, the day of the Empire. Stops along the front, very Gothic looking, this one. So now, on to the musical box. And the invention of the musical box really came from an invention from Anton Favre in 1796, the sprung steel tooth. Clock base from 1800, which predates the musical box by about 11 years. Through that little hole there, a mantle clock would trigger the instrument every hour. One of 4 different tunes pinned onto the cylinder brass, steel pins inserted, all done by hand. Precision work of the Swiss, and very costly too. The musical box that you see here, made in 1820, would have cost you as much as the price of a small house. So these were not cheap at all. This one made by Henriot of Saint-Croix. Perhaps the most precise musical instrument ever made in Switzerland was the Overture Box. This Overture Box, made in 1850 by Nickel Frere of Geneva, has got 14,000 pins in the cylinder, 11 thousandths of an inch in diameter. A 200-note musical comb plays full orchestral arrangement of all the instruments, and a superb instrument indeed, the Overture Box. So now, along came bell boxes from about 1865. Now this bell box also has the luxury of a zither, which is parchment rolled up, which you can dampen down to give you a plucky type of effect on the comb. The bells you can have on or off. You have the option as well there. And this one has got 8 tunes, some lovely tunes, and also ornate little bees striking the bells. There's a lovely little bell box there, 9-bell box. This one, perhaps the jewel in the crown of the collection, rescued from India in 1980 in a poor, sad condition and restored over a 4-year period in our workshops. This lovely dome lid in Burwarner, inlaid woods and tortoiseshell, once the property of a Maharaja, commissioned by Queen Victoria as a gift, specially made in Switzerland. So this is more of an expensive novelty wheeled out when heads of state visited your palace to impress them after tea and things like that. And inside we can see we've got bells engraved Indian style there. A tiny little bird in a little garden. That's a little bowerbird from the southern hemisphere, which has automata movement, which emulates his little courtship dance for you. His head, his wings, his beak and everything all move. There's also got a reed organ and a pipe organ, so you've got a cam on the side, pumps the bellows to produce the air. Little ruby in the central fugal governor, so no expense spared then. These are the pleasure of a Maharaja in 1875. So here's the technology which gave you the ability to change the cylinder, much like you can change your CD today. After all, those other boxes you just heard would have been much like a CD player with a CD stuck in it. You're limited to the programs that are on the one cylinder. Well, in 1880, with uniformity, it was possible to be able to cut gear wheels so that you could have uniformity there and able to change the cylinder. Each of these cylinders has got 6 tunes on. Now this is a very large cylinder musical box on wheels, used in dining halls, so when you sat down for your meal this was playing. When you stood up at the end it was still playing, because it has 2 very large springs. A whole evening's entertainment there. Nickel plated throughout. Now of course today we have the luxury of infrared remote control. Just point it at whichever, your CD player or whatever, and you can change your tracks from the comfort of your armchair. Well, no such things in those days. You have a tune select inside the box, where you can locate a tune against your tune indicator and reference that with your tune card. No remote control, but a bread roll thrown at a servant would suffice. It would do more or less the same job, really, and need to come and ask you what tune you wanted. So here's one, I'm sure you'll know. This is an old German tune called O Tannenbaum. But also keep the red flag flying here. So are you listening, Mr. Tony Blair? happened to the pin cylinder? Well, the Germans invented the floppy disk player in 1885. Paul Lockman of Leipzig, Germany, found a way of stamping out programming on a press, which cut through the steel disc to form a projection, then engaging in a uniformly cut star wheel which turns to pluck the comb. So doing away with the most expensive component, the pin cylinder, meant cheaper music for everyone, with the middle classes, such as the factory managers, wanting some music in their home. Now they could pay as little as 9p for a disc and hear the latest music hall tunes in the comfort of their living room. So this one is an old music hall tune. It's called the Penny Whistler. There was up to 2,000 song titles available, and you would store those in your little base underneath. So when your friends came round, you could play them the latest floppy disks of the day. So that was the tabletop size, 15.5 inch, very popular. This 25-inch symphonian used in a cafe, 7 foot tall. In the bass, the latest pop tunes of the day, so the cafe owner could change them for you. A lovely money-making machine, 1 penny, 1 tune. And so, I'll put my penny in the slot. You know that old saying, it takes a while for the penny to drop. Well, let's bring that saying to life here. 20 foot of spring to make it work, and a butterfly governor to regulate the speed. William Tell Overture by Rossini. Horned gramophone from Shaftesbury Avenue, London. This is the largest horn that would fit through your doorway. 29.5 inches in diameter, a doorway 30 inches wide. The horn is made of papier-mâché on a wire frame from old London telephone directories. So this is environmentally friendly. Now if we look at the turntable, flat disc, 78 RPM, spring powered. So if there's a power cut, you haven't got to worry about your party coming to an end. This will continue to play. And if you were a hi-fi enthusiast, back in 1930 you used bamboo fibre needles, not steel needles, because these are less traumatic for your record, and every time you play your record you give it a little sharpen like so. Now this is all acoustic, there's no electronics to amplify this, it's just merely the size of the horn. Even poor old Nipper the dog there can't understand why he hasn't got such a big horn to look down. 35 guineas then, 1930. Now this is a little singing bird box all the way from Switzerland, a bit of micro-engineering for you with real bird song. This is the song of the siskin bird. Oh, squash bird. No, he's okay really. Let's just check and see. And there he is, all safe and sound. Has a little escape route in his platform, which he can disappear very quickly before the lid comes down. Oh dear, he's getting a little tired, isn't he? Well, let's see. Let's put him to bed. Give him a little wind. Say bye-bye. So a lovely little bird box there. Now in the nursery, Nanny looked after the rich people's children, and so would have to keep them occupied most of the day. Now this is Mr. Rabbit in his cabbage, a lovely little child's toy made in Paris in 1890. So there's Mr. Rabbit. Now also at Nanny's disposal was a lovely little musical chair. You see, when Nanny sat down on this, her weight would trigger a musical box underneath, and so you have the musical chair. Works like the whoopee cushion, but far more elegant. This contains 2 tunes, and if I stop the instrument by taking the weight off, if we have a look underneath, we can see there is the tiny little movement in there with 2 tunes and the sounding board to resonate the tone. Nanny's nursing chair, Paris, 1890. So next time you play musical chairs, you can say you've seen a real one. This is from Yorkshire, England now, this circus trick by the Tamer. Now this is more contemporary, made by a woodcarver called Frank Nelson in a Victorian style. As we can see, the lion looks confused, and with good reason. He has a new trick to learn for tonight's show, but he's not very keen on this new trick, are you? No. The Lion Tamer would like you to do the trick, but you really don't want to do it, do you? Not really, no. But the Lion Tamer is a very persuasive man, isn't he? Yes, he is. Yes. So are you going to do the trick? Okay then. All right then. After 3. 1, 2, 3. What a brave lion you are. Well done, Leah. Well done. So a bit of circus trickery for you there. And now we turn our attention to a much larger instrument. This is all the way from Germany, 1890, barrel piano orchestrion, designed for the open air, and a very heavy instrument too, delivered by horse and cart to your beer garden, lease hired for the week for the Oktoberfest. Has orchestra bells, piano, a drum, a cymbal and a triangle, and inside a very large wooden barrel containing 10 tunes. So to select a tune, simply crank the barrel along. 1, 2, 3, and so on, 5 up, 5 back. Heinrich, in his dungarees, or Jürgen, would wind the handle for you. So if you're ready with your lederhosen on, here we are, 1890, the German beer garden. probably feel like a beer after that one, but if you follow me now, down to the other end of the museum, we can have a look at an Orchestrion all the way from Vienna, 1902. Beautiful cabinet, and inside, a pinned barrel with 6 tubes. Now this instrument is weight operated. This handle winds up 100 weight of cast iron, which is attached to a steel cable through a pulley at the back of the machine. In the cafe, there would have been a 30-foot drop for that weight. 6 tunes on a barrel, all to locate. Crank the barrel along, find the tune you wish to hear. Now the 43 keys will read the coding, turn it into music, playing piano, percussion, also mandolin rail, vibration coming from the eccentric cam, which wobbles the rod attached to the centrifugal governor, which regulates descent of the weight. Now I will put on a modern electric light next to Mr. Faraday. We can illuminate the cabinet for you. There we see a magnet. That magnet is to check your coin. So if you put the wrong coin in, oh dear, you've lost your coin and you've got no music. Very important then that your coin has a little steel in it. A few pfennigs, oh that should do the job. So here we are with our glass of beer in a Viennese cafe, 1902, the Orchestrion. There for you from the Viennese cafe. Now, we cross the room, we can look at an instrument from the drawing room of 1860, mechanical piano made by Hicks of London. Now I'll take the front off this so you can see what's going on inside. There we have the short strings on the piano with a pinned barrel with 10 tunes on, changeable barrels, and this one's got reels, jigs and country dances on. So if you'd like to take your partners, ladies and gentlemen, Jeeves will wind the handle in the drawing room. This one is a tune called Roxy Amor. So the end of the pin barrel is in sight. The perforated paper roll, a new invention for mechanical music, which could make mechanical music much cheaper again. So this is an organette made in Blackburn, Lancashire. It's got a slot in the box. When uncovered by a slot in the paper, the air draws through the reeds in the top block. And this instrument made by Mr. Draper of Higher Audley Street in Blackburn, Lancashire. And a strip of paper like this with a tune on. This is Gilbert and Sullivan from the Pirates of Penzance. This is the final chorus. So cheap and cheerful, music for the masses, 1895. Now, that's a cheap instrument. Let's have a look at a more expensive one. All the way from New York State, 1895, we have the Aeolian Orchestral. Now, the Aeolian Orchestral, made in New York, shipped over, sold in Bond Street. This has got 12 speaking voices, 310 reeds in the walnut cabinet, 58 holes on the tracker bar to read the coding on paper, 58 keys to play it manually. A little switch here which you can change from one to the other, but not both at the same time. But if you were using the paper and you wanted to impress your friends, you can always use the panel to cover up the paper roll, and everyone thinks it's you that's performing. Now this operates by pedals. Those pedals fill up a chamber of air. It's got a tempo control, a layer motor. The further you pull it out, the faster the paper roll will go. Volume with the right knee, organ swell with the left knee, and a sealed box which keeps the pressure in because it blows air through the holes rather than draws air, the opposite to the harmonium. As Aeolian of New York used to say on their advertising for this, we supply the music, you supply the interpretation. So how you play it is entirely up to you. You have total control of your orchestra. So excuse me while I just sit down now and play a little tune for you. This one is a tune by Edward Grieg. It's from his Peer Gynt suite and it's called Daybreak. Just rewinding the paper roll. Oh, there's a modern word, rewind. And go back to the beginning of the tune here. There we are. So a sealed box. Very windy day in there. So let's start with excuse me, a flute and a horn, and then we'll gradually build up our orchestra as we go. So here we have a Steinway Vertigrand made in Hamburg in 1906. This upright vertical grand with the long strings has 88 notes, 7 octaves, which you can play as a normal grand piano if you so wish. But the secret of this instrument lies behind the door. Man's greatest invention of mechanical music. An artist performing live in your living room without the artist actually being seated at your piano. How and why? Well, the invention came from a chap called Edwin Velter, son of Michael. In 1898 he set a patent to record an artist onto paper using electric impulse. So a special recording piano was used to record the coding on a paper roll. When we play that coding back today, that is the artist performing live for you. Today we have Jan Padarevsky, who later became the Polish president, performing live from the 27th of November 1906, Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. And this is the final part of that piece. 88 holes for 88 notes, working on vacuum, so you have an electric motor to make the whole thing workable. Also 15 holes each side for dynamic expression. Those regulate the airflow to give you the expression level of the note played. Underneath the keyboard are 88 pneumatic motors, one under each key. A requirement by the Steinway Piano Company, who insisted it must play itself. Not happy with just a paper roll, the keyboard must actually play the hammers on the strings. So as the air goes through a hole, it goes down a pipe, activates a pneumatic motor, pushes up the back of the key, the front goes down and the hammer strikes the string. Just like Mr. Padarevsky is sitting here for you today. In fact, he is. But you won't see him, but you will see the notes going down under the weight of his fingers. Here he is, from the 27th of November 1906, Mr. Jan Padarevsky. So here we are now in a Berlin cafe of 1920, the Days of Marlena. This is a coded roll, not an artist's performance, but coded with expression, loud and soft, and also sustain. Featuring on the coded roll programming for a wooden block and a mandolin rail. Leather and wood strips triggered in between the hammers and the strings give you a bit of a Harry Lime theme. We've taken the covers off this to show you the mechanical engineering working. Also, you'll see the keys move too. Not like the Steinway though, it doesn't have a true player action, merely weighted keys. So when the pneumatic stack action is taken up, the keys will drop through gravity. For your pleasure in the cafe. But of course, with public entertainment, fully automated as this is, you have to pay for your entertainment. So 1 coin will buy you 1 tune, several tunes on a roll. And it's mercury switching, so as you put your coin in the slot, it dips the mercury on the way through, triggers the relay, and starts the motor. The date then, 1920, the decadent cafes of Berlin. So here we have now the alternative entertainment to a musical box, automata. And this one, a lovely glass dome automata made in the late 19th century, shows a very stormy paper scene, not for nervous travellers this one. A water wheel gently turning, and out of the tunnel on the right-hand side, well, if we wish hard enough, we should find a train popping out. So here we are, late 19th century drawing room entertainment, a glass dome automata. Now, if you were in a cafe in Victorian times in the late 19th century, you could actually put a penny in a slot of a little singing bird in a gilded cage. Made in Paris in 1890, Bon Tom, singing nightingales, and little birds like this one. So here's my old English penny, going in the slot now, a penny's worth of bird song. And next to the little bird, also made in Paris, is an automata by Mr. Vici. Now this is his banjo player. So a lovely Vici automata there for you. Now moving along again to the far end of the piano is a German automata. This is the violin player. This is Joey, his name is, and He loves this violin. He gets a lovely scrapey sound from it. Also made late 19th century. Joey has got music in his chair, just like Nanny, to help him along. Are you ready, Joey? Off you go. Thank you, Joey. Thank you. We'll let you know. Thank you. So that's Joey there. And now, finally, our very large 5-piece Gypsy Orchestra with Conductor. Also made by Vici of Paris, late 19th century. Now this piece has taken 5 years, over a 5-year period, to restore. Fantastic amount of work has been necessary. Wooden cams and everything, the costumes. And there we see the little monkey sitting on the piano, about to play some boogie-woogie for you. And the conductor behind him, his eyes and his mouth moves, all these figures have movement, with, of course, the little barrel with pins on and the musical cone. So a Vici automata from the late 19th century to end the tour.
Well, thank you for joining us on the tour today. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. Do come again, there's always something new to look at. And so from all at Keith Harding's World of Mechanical Music, we wish you goodbye and all best wishes.